Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another YouTube video, and we're back with another episode. Week 8 of the NFL in the books, and we're coming back with another banger, another episode. If you guys can't see, my cat is in the background in her little cat tree. I don't know if she's going to want to get out, but she's there. Hopefully she doesn't distract you guys too much. But man, Miami Dolphins got some new merch. Man, this shirt is clean. It's probably one of my favorite shirts right now. And of course, Dolphins coming off a big win, but before we get into that, if you guys are new here and you do enjoy the content, subscribe if you guys want to, and drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. You don't have to do it though. It's all free. So, and all of the timestamps will be in the description below, so you can skip and see what kind of topics I talk about. Now, starting off, of course, with the Miami Dolphins, they get a nice divisional win to improve to 6-2 against New England Patriots, and I thought this was actually a pretty good win by the Dolphins. It was a close win and a lot closer than I thought it was gonna be. And I wouldn't say it was a one possession game the entire time, but it kind of felt like if the Patriots scored at any time, that they could have taken the lead. So yeah, the game went back and forth up until the Dolphins scored their final touchdown, making it a 14-point game. But Tua played all right. I didn't think he played great. I didn't think he played average. I thought he played slightly below or above average. Excuse me. He had a couple of throws where I was kind of like, what are you doing? Like very inaccurate, off timing. He also threw that pick. So Tua is still trying to get up there, get in tune with being an elite quarterback. I don't think he's there yet by any means. I think he, in terms of top 10 quarterback, I think he's right around like 8. People might hate me for that, but just being honest. So yeah, he used his legs a lot more than we've kind of seen in the past, extending plays, getting first downs, and doing his famous like pointing after he gets a first down. And Jalen Waddle finally had himself a really good game. 7 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown on 14 targets, or 12 targets, excuse me. Tua missed him on a couple, and then Jalen Waddle also dropped one, so you can't have all of them. But the defense, I also thought, for the Dolphins played fairly well. They did give up 17 points, but Jalen Ramsey being back was a huge acquisition. Is that even the right word? Anyways, it was just huge for the Dolphins defense because his stats, he didn't allow any passes to his side. He had 0 yards allowed, 0 catches, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. So he's back. Hopefully we get Xavier Howard next week in Germany to play the Chiefs. But the Patriots were able to rush the ball really well. I thought they were averaging 4.2 yards per carry, and they just went away from it. So, I mean, that's good for the Dolphins, but not good at the same time when we're allowing them to average 4.5 yards a carry, essentially. So, still missing Xavier Howard and Javon Holland, so hopefully we can get them back in time to play Kansas City in Germany. But that is a huge win because that is the fight for the number 1 seed currently. I know we still have another 9-10 weeks until the playoffs, but the Chiefs are 6-2 because they just lost to the Broncos, and the Dolphins are 6-2. So if the Dolphins do continue to win games late in January, this tiebreaker is going to come in handy if we have that tiebreaker over Kansas City. So now to talk about the Patriots, I thought they played a challenging game for the most part against the Dolphins. They made it fairly competitive, and Mac Jones, his late interception in the second quarter that Jalen Ramsey got and ran back for about 50 yards, and then the Dolphins ended up kicking a field goal. I think that was the killer for the Patriots, because if they would have scored, let's say they scored a touchdown, it's tied 14-14 going into halftime. If they kick a field goal, then they're down 4 points going into halftime. But that interception completely flipped the script and killed the Patriots because the Dolphins ended up getting a field goal, and it's a 17-7 game at halftime. Patriots, then the Dolphins score, then the Patriots score, and then the Dolphins score again, and the game is over. So the interception, though, for Jalen Ramsey, it was not a bad throw by Mac Jones at all. It was just a better play by Jalen Ramsey. I mean, once he saw that ball come out, he snapped off his zone and just attacked the ball and was able to pick it off. So I thought Mac Jones played a pretty pretty good game. He was pressured quite a lot as well, so that kind of played into part of the Patriots not succeeding in passing the ball. We're back. Sorry, my camera crashed. I don't know what was going on. I'm just going to keep looking at my side screen just in case. But now the Patriots, with Kendrick Bourne out for the season, he tore his ACL, I believe. Patriots are 2-6, and honestly, I could see them winning 4 straight. They play the Commanders, they play the Colts, then they play the Giants, and then the Chargers. So if they win those, let's say they go 3-1, then they're 5-7 on the season. But let's say they win all of those, and they could be 6-6. Are you looking at a playoff spot? You know, you have to win out. You still have to play the Patriots, and you still have to play the Bills, and then the Jets again. You know, it's just kind of tough. And then, do you make a quarterback change going into next season? So a lot of questions for the Patriots if they cannot manage to win these next couple games. But moving on to the game that I have been talking about, man, the Bengals versus the 49ers. Man, the Bengals got a massive win on the road, a massive win. Coming off the bye week, like I mentioned, and they had 2 weeks to prepare for this team. Well, a week and a half. Teams normally get the week off. But Joe Burrow, finally healthy, can move around the pocket, and he had a 90 QBR, and that was the highest during week 8, and it was against a top 5 defense in the San Francisco 49ers. So Joe Burrow finally looks like old Joe Burrow again. You know, he was dealing with that injury, and everyone's saying he wasn't worth the money. Was it just a one-hit wonder season? Is Joe Burrow really that guy? Why do we compare him to Josh Allen? And then he comes out and makes a statement game against one of the best defenses in the NFL. 28 of 32, only 4 incomplete passes, 283 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and also tack on 43 rushing yards. And he was sacked, I think it was 2 times. But he was able to evade a lot of pressure. He made a lot of plays with his feet, scrambling. Joe Burrow looks great. He looks healthy. And I'm so excited for him and the Bengals. After starting, Joe Mixon ran the ball amazing, I thought, man. 16 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. 5.4 yards per carry behind this offensive line against that defense is a statement to let the NFL and the AFC know that the Bengals are here. The Bengals defense only gave up 17 points to a high-scoring 49ers offense and forced 2 turnovers. And the Niners still threw for 350 yards, but the turnovers came in right places, limiting the points for the Niners. So the Bengals that were once 1-3, everyone was panicking. I told you guys, calm down. They did this last season. They just need to stack on 1 win at a time, 1 week at a time. And now they've won 3 straight, and they are staying in the mix of the AFC North, which is wild. You have the Ravens that are 6-2, and then you have the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers all at 4-3. So the Bengals don't have the easiest remaining schedule, but it's possible that they could win 2 more straight. They play the Bills for a Sunday night football game. I believe it's Sunday night. So that's going to be a tough one because they previously beat them in the divisional round last season. And then they go and play the Texans, which I think they're going to win. So let's say they win both of those. Then they're looking at 6-3, and they would have won 5 straight. Now, the 49ers, they have lost 3 straight games, but I am not worried. They're still the 49ers, but let's break down their losses. They lost to the Browns on a game-not-winning field goal when Brock Purdy drove the Niners down to get in field goal range, and Jake Moody missed his field goal, and he missed 2 field goals that day, and they ended up losing by 2 points. And they had no Christian McCaffrey and no Debo, so I'm not too worried. Then they lost to the Vikings by 5 points, and Brock Purdy had a concussion. Post-concussion during that game, he didn't know he had one. He threw 2 interceptions, and he was 2 for 6 for 20 yards, so not too worried. Then against the Bengals, they had no Debo and no Trent Williams protecting the blind side of Brock Purdy. And it looks like Purdy might have suffered another concussion after he got hit. He snapped his head back and immediately grabbed his head. So I'm not worried. I'm really not. But now the Niners going into their bye week, having lost 3 straight, and they come out and they're going to have to play the Jags week 10, So if they end up losing to the Jags, then I think it's time to kind of panic a little bit and say, what's going on? They've lost 4 straight. They need to get something going. They're going to fall out of being in contention for that 1 seed that they're fighting the Eagles for. So till then, I don't really have any other questions about the Niners. But if they do lose to the Jags, then it's a big question mark. Now the Seahawks and the Browns. The Seahawks, man, they get a tough and ugly win. I mean, this is as ugly as they come. But it's a great team win. Defense played great. Special teams kickers played great. Offense played good. Good team win. And don't look now, but the Seahawks are 5-2. At the end of the day, they're first place in the NFC West right now, ahead of the Niners. Geno played an alright game. Not his best, an alright game. He should have had another interception that would have been taken back for a pick 6, but that was dropped. But in the end, he did have the game-winning touchdown drive off of an interception that the defense gave them. So at the end of the day, a win is a win. And little did I know, the Seattle Seahawks have the 8th best defense in the NFL, and their offensive line only gave up 1 sack against a really good Browns front. You know, that Browns defense, just a week ago, was ranked number 1 in the NFL. But Seattle has a really good receiving core and underrated receiving core, I think, with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, who is still at the I don't want to say tail end at his prime, but he's still a prime receiver in his prime. And then you have a JSN who's also taken the Seahawks by storm. I don't want to say taken the league by storm, but he's definitely making plays. So the Seahawks now play Baltimore next week in Baltimore, and I think that's going to be a really good test for both teams. Seattle having a really good defense, and Seattle also having a really good receiving core. And then you have the Ravens, who are coming off a really good win against the Cardinals. Lamar Jackson playing a couple really good games as of late, and that defense really, really playing great as of late. Well, I've said that word so many times, but it should be a really good game. If the Seahawks can somehow manage and win this game, then I think people really need to start talking about the Seahawks. But if they do lose this, which I think they will, I think it'll be a 4, maybe 6 point game. Then we'll see. Now let's talk about the Browns on the tail end of the loss against the Seahawks. The Browns was a close one, but they have gotten lucky winning these games with PJ Walker because he is not the greatest backup quarterback. He's just not. I think their luck with PJ Walker at quarterback has run out. In his 3 games that he started, his stats are he's thrown for 618 yards, and he has 1 touchdown to 5 interceptions. So, not good. With Deshaun Watson's status up in the air, if this team does not get back, if he doesn't get back on track, then this team could definitely be in trouble offensively. I predicted this team to go 10-7 and make the playoffs, but with them not kind of finding their identity with Deshaun Watson in that quarterback due to his injuries, I think they might be in some trouble. And the defense, they've been playing really well, especially against the Colts. That's what won them that game, that and penalties late. But in the end, they gave up 24 points. So, yeah, you can only play defense for so long. Now moving on to the Titans and the Falcons game. Start off with the Titans here. Will Levis had himself a fantastic NFL debut. And he actually looked way better than I expected. I went back and watched the film because all I saw were the highlights. Went back and watched all the film. This guy was probably as good as you can get from a rookie who was drafted and then got sent to the 3rd string, or was placed as a 3rd quarterback, comes out, and he played as good as anyone would have, I think. But yeah, went back and watched the film. He was taking shots downfield, not afraid to do that. He was standing in the pocket, taking hits and making throws, not afraid to do that. And he was throwing down the middle of the field, which you don't see a lot of rookie quarterbacks do, aside from your Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. But he looked like a 2nd, 3rd year quarterback getting used to that system in there. He looked great. His stats: 19 of 29, 238 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And to be honest, he could have had an extra 30, 40 yards. He hit, I don't know who he hit. He hit someone for a wide open. Would have been 30 or 40-yard gain, and the receiver just dropped it. So, but it's fine. The Titans got Derrick Henry going. 22 carries for 101 yards. They rushed for 60 yards total as a team. Phenomenal. Offensive line stepped up. I think Mike Vrabel and that coaching staff had a really good game plan going in, knowing that they were going to go with Will Levis. They got him. They kept him in the pocket, but the Titans do it a lot, is they bring 7-man fronts. They only send 2-3 receivers downfield, and then you have your outlet. They did that a lot and protected Will Levis and got him comfortable in the pocket, so he didn't feel rushed to throw the football. Now, he did get pressured a couple times, got sacked, but Will Levis looked really good. So they play again Thursday night against the Steelers, and he will be the starting quarterback. I hope he is. So we'll see how he performs there against a semi-decent Steelers defense. Now moving on to the Falcons. They started getting the offense going once Taylor Heinicke came in for that whole second half. I mean, when Desmond Ridder was in, these were their drives. Field goal, punt, 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 fumble, punt, punt. So on, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, on 7 drives, they had 3 points. Then with Taylor Heinicke, field goal, touchdown, punt, touchdown, turnover on downs. So it's clear that Desmond Ridder is not the quarterback for the future for this franchise. He's not a good passer. And Taylor Heinicke, if you want to win games now as the Atlanta Falcons, you definitely need to start him going forward. I think Taylor Heinicke is only 29, 30, so you could sign him to another, like you could extend his contract another year. He's on a 2-year deal right now, so I would not be opposed to doing that. I know the Falcons want to build and get a franchise quarterback for the future, like for the next 10, 15 years. That's what a lot of teams obviously look for. But if the Falcons want to win, they need to start Taylor Heinicke. Now the Chiefs and Broncos. Starting off with the Chiefs. This game was crazy to say the least. So many fumbles and turnovers. I think there were, 7 total fumbles. Not all of them were lost, but there were that many fumbles. The Chiefs should have ran the ball more to Isaiah Pacheco. He had 8 carries for 40 attempts, which is 5 yards per carry, and they just did not give him the football enough. Mahomes played the worst game of his career, and for the first time in 2 years, he did not record a passing touchdown. So he had the flu, and it was just not himself. I don't want to say I'm going to put an asterisk next to it, but when you're going through an illness, you're not yourself. You're not making the quick decisions. You don't feel well, you feel slow, you feel sluggish, so I'm not blaming that on him. And he was under a lot of pressure. On the night, he threw 2 interceptions and he had 1 lost fumble. So the Chiefs had 3 lost fumbles and 2 interceptions, so they had 5 total turnovers. So that's really what's going to kill them. But the Chiefs, like I mentioned earlier, play the Dolphins next in Germany Sunday morning at 9:30 Eastern. And that is the fight for the number 1 seed, which will play out, or which will be valuable for whoever wins that going in late December, early January. So both the Dolphins and the Chiefs are going into a bye week after that game. And coming out of the bye week, the Chiefs then play the Eagles. So let's say the Chiefs lose to the Dolphins and then lose to the Eagles. They have then lost 3 straight, and they're sitting at 6-4 when they could have been sitting at 7-3, 8-2. But now moving on to the Broncos, a very, very nice big divisional win for this team. After starting 0-3 on the season, this team is now 3-5, 3-2 in their last 5 games, and they have slowly started to turn things around. I know this isn't much, but in their last 3 games, their offense, 17 points per game, defense only giving up 15 points per game. Russell Wilson really finding his stride and is having a great year this season that nobody is talking about because he's Russell Wilson, he's washed, and he's on the Broncos. He's thrown for 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio in the entire NFL. So let's stop the slander on Russell Wilson. He's playing great. The Broncos now going into a bye week. Then they come out and play Buffalo. If somehow, some way, the Broncos can win that game, then they'll be 4-5, and they might be out of the playoff race. But if they can gather a few more wins in that division, if Kansas City continues to lose, I wouldn't be surprised if they won that division or just snuck in as a wild card team, although the AFC is kind of tight right now. But we will see. You can only afford to lose 2 or 3 more games max, because then you're sitting at 8 losses, 9 losses, and there's not too many teams that have 9 losses that make the playoffs. Now the Panthers. Bryce Young finally gets his first win in the NFL, and I think he did it in a fantastic way. He played really well against a Texans defense that ranks 4th in the NFL. The Houston Texans rank 4th. Their defense ranks 4th in the NFL. Crazy. Bryce Young, his stats: 22 of 31 with 235 yards and a touchdown. He was sacked 6 times under pressure the entire game. Had no running game and carried this team on his back. Made great throws, staying in the pocket, throwing with great anticipation. I cannot wait to see once he finally gets another wide receiver 1, gets that offensive line upgraded, and that defense starts to really gain momentum. I can only imagine how good he's going to be, hopefully, knock on wood. Next game I'm going to talk about here is the Rams and Cowboys. To start off with the Rams, man, they just really had everything go wrong with them. I mean, in the first half, you had a pick 6, and then you had a safety, and then your defense gave up 24 points. So you're down 33-9 in the first half, and it's just like, what do we do? Matthew Stafford dealing with that thumb injury as well. Wasn't able to throw and had to come out because it was too much pain. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua had 7 total catches combined, which is not what you want to see. But again, everything went wrong. Matthew Stafford was injured. But now the Rams are 3-5 in a competitive NFC. I'm not so sure they can make a playoff push like I've been saying all season. With Stafford and that injury, and the defense not playing good as of late, it might be over for them. They need to beat Green Bay next week to improve to 4-5. And then they're going into their bye, which will give Matthew Stafford time to rest. So if they can win that game, which I think they will, then they have a chance. But they need to basically only lose 2 or 3 more games the rest of the season, like I said with the Broncos, if they want to stay in contention. Especially with a tough NFC West. You have the Seahawks 5-2, you have the Niners 5-3, and then you have these guys at 3-5. So you really need to stack up those wins and win those divisional games. Now to move on with the Cowboys, man, they had everything go right. Of course, I mean, Dak played great as well. Only 6 incompletions, 25 of 31 for 304 yards and 4 touchdowns. But those throws, man, were in tight windows, great anticipation, really throwing in really tight coverage. And Dak played well. It was against a below average defense. I believe the Rams ranked 22nd in the NFL. So CD finally had himself a really good game that we've been waiting for all season. You could see his confidence really got moving once he started scoring. You could really tell in his body language. But the Cowboys are now 5-2 after kind of a good start, then a rocky middle. Then now they're picking themselves back up, winning their games, finding their identity. But now the real test comes next week against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. If they can win that game, they'll be 6-2, and that's a divisional win. So they'll be 2-0 in that division. It'll really shake things up for the Philadelphia Eagles if the Cowboys can win this game. I think if they can win this game, I think then we need to start talking about, okay, are the Cowboys, they just beat the Eagles, they beat the Rams, are they going to be consistent? Are they going to do this on a night in, night out basis? Or are they going to go lose to the Panthers, So we just need to see consistency in the Cowboys. The next game I want to talk about is the Vikings versus the Packers game. Yeah, man, the Vikings, they've won 3 straight. They looked really good, starting to really gain momentum and fighting back to be 4-4. Then Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles. And it just sucks to see, man. If you're not a fan of Kirk Cousins, then you just don't like football, or you're just not a good human. I mean, he's such a nice man. Excuse me. But now with Justin Jefferson coming off IR and Kirk Cousins is gone, now the quarterback options for the Vikings is you have rookie Jaron Hall, who played a little bit in the preseason. And then you have Nick Mullins, who is a 29-year-old backup veteran, I would say, coming off of IR, not this coming week, but the week after. So the soonest he can play is week 10. Then there have been rumors that Jameis Winston might sign with the Vikings. So that might be a breaking news sort of thing. But this team is finally clicking, and then they lose their starting quarterback. So it sucks to see. I don't want to say their season is over. It depends on who they can trade for at the trade deadline tomorrow or today when you're seeing this video. So, yeah. Now to talk about the Packers. They have now lost 4 straight games, and the Packers offense cannot get going in the first half. After starting 2-1 and Jordan Love was playing good, I told y'all, pump the brakes on Jordan Love. Let's see him play a couple more games. Let's see him get into a rhythm. Let's see him be a starter. And he has played very poorly since then. In his first 2 games, like I mentioned last video, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Since then, 5 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So, and like I mentioned last video again, in the Packers' last 4 losses, in the first half, this is how many points they've scored. Against the Lions in the first half, 3 points. Against the Raiders, 3 points. Against the Broncos, 0. And this last week against the Vikings, 3 points. So they're averaging about 1.5 points in the first half, the last 4 games. So Jordan Love definitely needs to get going. He needs to get that confidence back. Get him a couple throws to the outside. Get him going. But I definitely think there's questionable play calling coming from the Packers. You know, with them not running the ball consistently, you only had 13 rushing attempts between A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. So, you know, you got to get those guys going. You got to get them the football. They're your playmakers. So, yeah. That is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Like I mentioned in previous videos, if there's anything you guys want me to talk about, drop them in the comments below, and I will give it a look, and I will jot it down and talk to you about it. But hopefully you all enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And as always, I will see you all next video. Peace.